We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour 2 here, Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM channel 158. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Big hour coming up. We got game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final coming up tonight in about 15 minutes. Darren Pang, who's been calling games all postseason for TNT, he's going to stop by, give us his predictions for the series. We'll hit our MVP ladders for both Conn Smythe and NBA Finals MVP. Real quickly, did get at least one injury update coming out of the Stanley Cup Final. Game 1 coming up tonight. Jeremy Lauzon, who has not played since Game 6 of the first round for Vegas against Utah, should be working his way back into the D court today, which I think for the course of a series like this is actually a pretty significant addition for them to get back. He was 10th in the NHL this year in hits, and just knowing the style of play that Carolina does play, I think that'll be good for him to work back in.
Yeah, I think I read Tobel was going to put him on the third line or something like that. So
third pairing.
Okay, third pairing. Excuse me. The line are the forwards, correct?
Yes.
I'm trying to still get my hawk talk
I'm very
down.
proud of you. I also love that you call it hawk talk.
I mean, that's good, right?
It is. It's pretty solid.
Come on, love to talk.
Every now and then you hit me with a little zinger that's pretty good.
But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, knowing what we know about him, and just look, given the fact that the times where it looked like this team was getting perilously thin, especially in some of these games, it was on that blue line. So the more bodies you can add, the better.
Meanwhile, let's kick things off talking a little association, because game 1 of the NBA Finals set to get underway tomorrow for the 8th straight year. We're going to have a new NBA champ, the San Antonio Spurs and New York Knicks, kicking things off. Spurs knocked off the defending champs to be here. So can they now go all the way, or will the Knicks, who have just been long-suffering, haven't won a title since the 70s, can they finally get it done? We have seen some movement in the series, JVT.
Yep.
The Knicks getting some support down from minus 205 to minus 190 at DraftKings right now. And for game 1, we saw that initial support in favor of San Antonio up from 4.5 to 5.5. We're back down to 4.5 again this morning.
You did. By the way, you sent the rundown to the email that I'm locked out of, but I appreciate it.
No! Really?
But I got it on my phone. We're good.
I don't have your other one.
Either way, I am obviously very, very excited for this series. The evilness of New York aside, this is going to be a very well-played series and a tight one at that. I can understand some of the support coming in on the Knicks, especially at a game 1 perspective. I will reiterate time and time again, I think the Knicks, before anybody accuses me, I think the Knicks provide a litany of matchup questions for San Antonio that the Thunder are not going to, or did not provide for San Antonio to somewhat figure out. So that's going to be something that I think obviously works in their favor. Having a player akin to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, at least being an elite ball handler up front that you can always rely on in some of those isolation possessions, but some of the other versatility of the roster that they have with Karl-Anthony Towns, with OG Anunoby, those are going to be things that they will have to deal with, the San Antonio Spurs. So I can understand some support. My official pick, we talked about this yesterday on the pod, it was right after you got off, but it was Spurs. It was Knicks in 7. It's not. I don't feel anything strong enough about it to say that I'm going to bet the Knicks to win this series. But I do think that they can have enough to win this thing, and I think ultimately feel a little bit stronger about the game going over the 5.5. And you see the way that it's priced over minus 170 there, and in some of the series leader props and some of the matchup stuff you might see that ties into some of the bets that you can have throughout the course of this series.
Knicks in 7 though, 7-1 your price for that one. I will tell you though, big news. You're going against Air Corgi, the little dog, that does the series predictions. He had, or she, I don't know, Spurs in 7.
Doesn't matter, does it?
What do you mean? Oh, apologies. Apologies. Which Spurs in 7 is actually your favorite when you look at the series correct score odds, plus 320 in that market.
And before anybody says anything, we have been on a rash of teams going out on the road in Game 7s and getting things done. So it's not that big of a deal, it would seem, in the current iteration of the NBA for a team to go out in a Game 7 and get a win on the road.
Okay, so you've mentioned your angles for the series. But there are also, like we will discuss a little bit later on in the NHL, there are like these full series long individual player props that you can do head-to-head options as well. Mm-hmm. And there are a few that have caught your attention as you were going through and digging into some of these markets. So
these were all of them. So you have head-to-head for the statistical categories, and it's not for every player. I was looking at DraftKings. So, for example, like for the final series, head-to-head points. So De'Aaron Fox, a $1.75 favorite to have more points in the series than Mikal Bridges at plus 140. OG Anunoby, minus 140 favorite to have more points than De'Aaron Fox in the series, who's plus 115. Stephon Castle, minus 140 to have more points than Karl-Anthony Towns at plus 115. And I wanted to stop there only because, again, I'll reiterate, and I was trying to find different ways to play this. I'm going to see if this is more widely available, if I can find it somewhere else. But I do think that Cat is going to have a strong offensive series. I think that's within the cards. Again, initial matchups, and this will tie into the best bets later as well for Game 1. I know that's not until tomorrow, but added one at the very least for Game 1. If we're assuming that Victor Wembanyama starts the series on Josh Hart, that means a smaller matchup for Karl-Anthony Towns. It means Towns maybe not operating so much at the top of the key, a little bit more down low, trying to take advantage of that physical matchup that he might be able to use. So I think you're going to have a strong offensive series from Karl-Anthony Towns. Stephon Castle's not going anywhere in terms of his production, but you do wonder how much he's going to have the ball in his hands when it comes to De'Aaron Fox, maybe now starting to be a little bit healthier. That'll tie into a market we'll talk a little bit later. The fact that maybe Mitch Johnson and the Spurs will steer away a little bit more from him being a singular ball handler, only because he does have a penchant for turning the ball over, and that's going to kill you with the Knicks and the way that they can play on the other side. And so maybe just a slightly lower usage rate for Stephon Castle in the series versus a Karl-Anthony Towns, who I think should have a pretty good one. So, Cat plus 115, plus 120. To have more points in the series than Stephon Castle, I thought was pretty interesting. And I also just think De'Aaron Fox in general, he is such, I think, an interesting piece in all of this in terms of what his role is going to be. We saw in Game 7, it was fewer than 20 points, but it was a very efficient game for him. He was very impactful, scored some really big buckets for him. And I know he had some health issues, obviously, that kept him out of some games, but I think that we're finally starting to see that he is going to have an impact, and a positive one at that. And maybe the market is being somewhat mute on the potential of De'Aaron Fox having a bigger role in this series for San Antonio. And you can see in some of the pricing there, too, right? I mean, obviously a $1.75 favorite to have more points than Mikal Bridges, but, a dog to OG Anunoby and some of the other markets where he's being priced for certain statistical categories.
Well, and I know, as I just mentioned a minute ago, we're going to do our MVP ladders for both the NHL and NBA finals here. Karl-Anthony Towns is somebody, when we were discussing MVP, you were very high on just in general. So as you look to some of these other markets as well, whether it's head-to-head assists, he's favored in that matchup against Josh Hart. Is that a side that you look at, or do you look more to Hart on that? How are you just in the framework of what you're looking for from Karl-Anthony Towns? Where do you go?
I mean, I use them. So you see the price here for WatchNBC.com when Stormy's referencing. I didn't think there was anything here. I mean, if you get super granular about it, Josh Hart and the ability to crash the offensive glass and then kick it out to open shooters is going to have more opportunities to find assists than Karl-Anthony Towns, who, again, if he's going to be in a role that is attacking mismatches as opposed to playing at the top of the key, then that means fewer assist opportunities, but more opportunities to score. So maybe you could play Hart in a market like that. I think in general, outside of what we talked about with the points head-to-head with Castle, you could find him at 22-1, widely available to win Finals MVP. I think that's worth looking at. Again, he's the secondary player. Yes. How many universes/simulations are there in which the Knicks win the Finals and Jalen Brunson does not win Finals MVP? There's probably few and far between, but Cat is up there in terms of who is going to win Finals MVP. And if you're giving me 22-1 on him to do that, that to me is the way to attack Karl-Anthony Towns, if I'm right that he's going to have a pretty decent series.
Okay, let's keep going through some of these other head-to-heads. Finals head-to-head rebounds. The OG Anunoby versus Julian Champagnie.
So these ones we can rattle off pretty quickly. I didn't have a really big read here. Anunoby at minus 135, Champagnie at plus 110. It would make some sense. You do wonder, though, Anunoby, I mean, If his primary assignment is going to be guarding Victor Wembanyama, I would assume that means that there's going to be a lot more defensive opportunities for guys around him. He'll be boxing Wembanyama out, trying to at the very least, and getting him off the glass. But I think mostly that's going to lead to other guys trying to help on the glass and getting him out of there. So maybe that's a Champagny deal to potentially steal this. I think out of all these, if we could go to made threes, what I think is going to be pretty interesting in this series is what you look at here. First off, Jalen Brunson minus 115, Julian Champagny minus 105 in the finals head-to-head made threes. So Brunson favored just slightly over Champagny there. We played the clip from Zach yesterday. He thinks Champagny has value in leading the series in made threes. So that kind of sticks out. At the very least, looking at Champagny at a small minus 105 price. But also Hart in general. So it ties into what I bet for game one. So I bet over 1.5 made threes for Josh Hart at minus 155. They're going to play off of him. He's going to get three-point opportunities. Whether he sinks them or not is going to be a question, but the opportunity to make those threes is going to be there. He's a $1.50 favorite in this market against Mikal Bridges. Well, Stormy, what if I am not only wrong for game one, what if he just has another bad series? What if he's not hitting those threes? What if the Spurs strategy is successful? They're just leaving him open, and then eventually, much like in the series against Cleveland at one point in the early portion, I think it was the Cleveland series, he gets benched. And he doesn't have those opportunities, then I think there's going to be a unique case to be looking at like a Mikal Bridges and plus 120 in the head-to-head made threes, only if that ends up playing out there for Hart.
Also, the aforementioned Zach Cohen does a great job here as VSiN senior editor. He hosts the Hardwood Handicappers podcast. That's where we played that sound from. You can download, subscribe, get it wherever you get your podcast. He's done a great job throughout the course of the postseason. One day a week, you can hear the guy to my left on it as well.
I was just, you don't have to be sarcastic. I was just about to say that tomorrow we will have our full finals preview with Kelly and myself both
That's fun.
With Zach. So before you wanted to go, I just wanted to say that the full finals preview between the trio of Hardwood Handicappers will be out tomorrow.
I'm just having a little fun with you. Is that okay?
I'm still not feeling great.
You're still sensitive just about the shirt?
No.
Although you've gotten more feedback.
Justin with a great compliment. More like jacked Von Tobel.
That's a good one. Reminder
one
as
day,
well,
Justin.
though.
One day.
While you're over at VSiN.com, maybe checking out some of Zach's breakdowns and articles. You can also put your World Cup knowledge to the test right now. We've got a special contest going on with Splash Sports, offering $1 million guaranteed in a high-stakes Survivor contest. $1,000 to enter, $1 million on the line. You can only use one team, a team once. Pick wisely from the group stage all the way through the knockout rounds. Outlast everyone else, and the million is yours. New players use the code VSiN, get a 50% deposit match up to $100, a free Quick Picks entry up to $20, plus a 100% Quick Picks payout boost on an entry up to $20 as well. Entries close June 11th. Don't wait. You can go to splashsports.com/VSiN and use the code VSiN. Must be 21 or older. Available in select states only. We're going to step aside. Back to the NHL next. Excited to have Darren Pang of TNT join us and get his prediction for who wins it all with Canes Golden Knights next.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Words cannot describe how pumped I am for tonight. Game one on deck of the Stanley Cup Final in Raleigh. The Carolina Hurricanes favored against the Vegas Golden Knights. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And every year, the rights for the Stanley Cup Final flip, right? This year, ESPN has it. Next year, it'll be TNT. And fortunately for Darren Pang, who joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line, on an off year for the broadcast rights, that means you get a little time off early. You are out there at the lake house, how you'll be taken in the Stanley Cup Final this week. How are you doing, Panger?
I'm doing good, Stormy. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. You're right about that. I think there's a correlation there. Off season for a lot of former hockey players or hockey players is golf. and a lot of Canadians have these cottages, up north, and I know several of my friends had them in the Muskokas and areas like that in Ontario. Mine's not that, but it is a lake house, and it's. I think we all agree that getting away from the great game of hockey after a pretty extended season, as you know, it was. It was, what we would say, time consuming. That March was every single other day. So it was a good end to the season, and then a good playoff for all of us. ESPN, us at TNT, ratings are good, and hopefully for ESPN and for the National Hockey League that the Stanley Cup Final is going to be a really good one.
Well, it's hard not to start, as generally we do with hockey, the goaltenders. But I wanted to talk about Freddie Andersen, because I'm pretty much asking everybody this. Stormy is pretty adamant that she thinks that at some point he just can't keep this up in comparison with his regular season. What say you with what we've seen from him? Can he keep doing this?
Well, I guess number one, I'd like to tell you that I'm a big fan of Freddie Andersen. I always have been. I've gotten to know him, just being a fellow goaltender, and I just love the way he looks down at me and goes, "You played goal in the NHL," and looks way down there because he's a big sucker. He might be a whole foot and 100 pounds bigger than I am. So I've always had this great rapport with goaltenders. But here I think about Freddie. Yes, everybody thinks that it's going to happen, that it's a ticking injury. It's just waiting. I don't know. Maybe this year's different. Maybe the lack of stress that they've had in the playoffs so far. They've defended well. He hasn't had to really extend himself. I always often use that phrase for a big guy, because big guys having to go from right to left or left to right and have to push off, that's tough on your legs. That's tough on your groins. And we've seen a lot of the larger goaltenders have those kind of issues. So, I mean, if he can maintain his composure between the posts, then I think he'll be in fine shape. I'm a big fan of his, and I think this is his time. So that's where I'm leaning right now. I'm leaning the team defense of Carolina. The way they hunt pucks is outstanding. The only thing they do is they will get caught out of position a little bit. We saw that in the first game against Montreal, just because they were chasing a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think this is Freddie's time. And if it is, then he would be, or have to be, one of the top 3 considerations for the Conn Smythe Trophy.
And to your point on size, 6'4", 230, yeah. Pretty big dude. And he has been awesome. And I know I have been one of these people, like, round after round, I'm like, he's due. And then aside from a historic layoff in Game 1 against Montreal, he's been awesome. He's only given up 20 goals this entire postseason, which is just ridiculous to this point. You talk about your likes for Carolina. Year after year after year, they have been on the cusp. I know I personally have wanted it for Rod Brind'Amour so badly, especially with the teams that he's had. This year, they finally get over the hump and make the Cup final. How much does it feel like, if not now, when, for this group at this point?
Yeah, I think we've all been feeling that same way. And then unfortunately for the teams that get there year after year, the one thing that we all do, we all look, we all evaluate, Stormy, is, okay, what's wrong with them? What can't they do? Where do they fall short? Is the system too much for them to go 4 rounds of the playoffs? Is it too much in the regular season to be all out every single shift, being aggressive as they are? But I think when I look at them now, and I look at what they've gone through, I think this is just the perfect storm, if you don't mind me saying it, for them to just keep riding this right now. But I will say this about Vegas: they're a different animal. And we'll get into Vegas in a little bit, but with all the strengths that Carolina has and the ride that they've had, which has been, not easy, nothing's easy, but they haven't extended themselves. They've been real smart that way, finishing off series, is that this Vegas team is an experienced team with a lot of different weapons that they're going to face. Carolina, I'm saying, and so that's why I think this is. I think this has got 7 games written all over it. That's me. I am leaning towards Carolina. I think home ice advantage will matter. I think the matchups that Rod Brind'Amour will matter. He loves his stall matchup. He's got a number of players. If one's not working, he can utilize probably 5 or 6 other players that can go head to head or match up against whoever happens to be hot for Vegas, which I assume it'll be the Eichel and Marner. But they do get a lot of second and third line scoring as well. So that might be the difference in the series. But I still think that Carolina is going to hang in here.
Darren, what have you seen from Vegas? I mean, we sat here all throughout the regular season. I called them the worst fake good team in the regular season because they just kept getting these overtime losses and getting these points. But yet here they are. What's changed?
Yeah, those old overtime points, huh?
Yep.
Well, I mean, let's face it, it's not common to have a coaching change that late in the season. I remember broadcast, I was with ESPN at the time, and Larry Robinson with 8 games left took over for Robbie Ftorek, and they went on a run and they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. So, I mean, sometimes it's a different voice, a different, the philosophy hasn't changed, and Ports is the first guy to say it, that he's just taken what Bruce has done and laid that great foundation that Bruce Cassidy has laid in Vegas, and just maybe gave the players maybe just a little different voice, a little more encouragement, a little more pat on the back, and sometimes just a different voice. It does matter at times, but I still believe that if Bruce Cassidy was at the helm, I think he deserved a chance to finish it off. Although if they end up winning the Stanley Cup, you can look at management and ownership and say, wow, that's a gutsy move, and they made the right move. But I still think Bruce would have been able to read what was going on in the room and change it around, and maybe they would still be in this position right now. But they're a good team. They're a solid team. They're a tenacious team. They can dial it up. Ivan Barbashev is a human missile. He's going to hurt somebody in the first 12 minutes of this hockey game. You maybe put that on a parlay right there. He's done it time and time again. He knows how to target players. They know which players they're going to target. They're going to circle them, and they're going to go at them, and they're going to go at them hard. And that'll be the big challenge for Carolina, in my opinion.
And I mean, I'm excited for the physicality of this series, all the things. I know on paper, a lot of people keep saying, oh, because it probably isn't going to be a high-scoring series. The regular hockey, like the standard fan across the country, isn't going to like this series. I think the opposite. I think that kind of hockey and that style is so fun, and the competitive back and forth that we could get for this series could be awesome.
Yeah, I'm with you, Stormy, all the way on that. I listen. I don't mind low-scoring games. I mean, not because I'm a former goaltender. I mind low-scoring games with no action. I do mind that. I do mind, if no one's going to the net and everything's passive and on the outside, well, that's not fun for anybody. But a 2-1 hockey game with loads of chances, and I believe that this is going to be a game that's going to be on the rush. We're going to get some chances that way. And so if it's a 2-1 hockey game and you get 40 chances, I don't see anything that's going to be wrong with that. I will say this, going back to the Vegas part again, is another challenge for Carolina. They're not and haven't faced a team that defends as well as Vegas does. Mm-hmm. Their D zone structure is fantastic. I mean, every time I see it, I feel like the switches are perfect. The reads where they don't get out of position or they don't overchase, they hand off players, they hand off assignments really well, and then they're not leaving a whole lot to the inside. So if Carolina can get to the inside, well, very few teams have. And we saw Colorado couldn't. I mean, Natchez was on the outside, and McKinnon, before he got hit, he's on the outside. Basically, they pushed them to the outside because they're great coverage. So that'll be one of the big details, I'm sure, as this series goes along. Are the shots on the outside on Carter Hart, or are they going to get some high-danger chances in the middle and in the slot, off rebounds, off tips? If they can do that, well, that's something that I haven't seen too many teams do against Vegas so far.
We've only got about a minute left with you, but I couldn't help but laugh to myself when you mentioned home ice playing a role in this for the Carolina Hurricanes, because all the games you broadcast, I felt like home ice didn't matter at all this postseason for you.
Is that unbelievable? Stormy, every game we did, the visiting team won. It was like we'd walk away from every single rink going, when is anybody going to be happy right here? So I think the only game was 9-6 in Colorado against Minnesota. I think that was the lone one on that side. So you're right about home ice, but don't forget, some teams matchups aren't as prevalent as they were in years gone by, and not many coaches have a singular player or a line that says that's your guy. If it's going to be Stahl, it's going to be Jack Eichel, and that's no news for Jack Eichel. He's done this time and time again. But I'm telling you that's Stahl. He's a savvy player. He's good on faceoffs, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that matchup shakes out.
He's pretty darn good. I forgot you guys had that just nothing but chaos, goals all over the place game. Panger, you're awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, and enjoy the lake house and the golf and all of the things. You deserve it.
I will. Thanks very much. I'm going to enjoy game one. I'm going to enjoy this series. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Darren Pang. He was at ice level for so many games this postseason, crushing it. Really appreciate him giving us some time today. We got to step aside when we come back. He did mention Freddie Anderson, one of the leaders in the clubhouse for Conn Smythe. We're going to break down my MVP ladder on the NHL side and JVT's for the NBA. Stick around.
moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
What up, everybody? We're back here on Money Moves. Championship season is here, and VSiN Pro can help you bet it all for a limited time. Lock in our early bird pricing on our football season special, just $175. The sooner you sign up, the more value you get with full access to everything we do across every sport here at the network through the Super Bowl. That means coverage throughout the NBA and NHL finals, Belmont Stakes, MLB right now, plus early access to our 2026-27 NFL betting guide coming out later this month, June 22nd, helping you attack all of the futures bets, win totals, division races, and more. You'll get the daily best bets, real-time bet splits from DraftKings and Circa, AI-powered prop projections, 24/7 video on the VSiN Watch app, and so much more. You can get it all at vsin.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've been teasing it and previewing it all day. It is officially time for our NBA Finals and Conn Smythe MVP ladders for the postseason, delving into who essentially, based on what we have seen so far, will win these respective awards. You want to get things started here with the NBA?
I mean, yeah, because I have nothing to base it off of, so it's pretty easy. It's just a reflection of the odds at this point right now. Okay. I know you're laughing, but the concept of the ladder is, at least when we started to do this back in VSiN Primetime, was looking at the performances and measuring them all up and trying to find a guy who we could bet on to win it. The market's not really adjusting enough on. And Jaylen Brown was our crowning achievement at the Eastern Conference Finals that year we got there. So right now it's going to reflect the odds, which is exactly what you're looking at here. But it's a good exercise to compare and contrast where you're getting priced with some of these guys. So, for example, Victor Wembanyama, prices relatively static across the board. If you think Wemby and the Spurs are going to win the series and you think that you want to bet him, FanDuel is your spot, $1.75 favorite, as compared to $1.85 at DraftKings, $1.90 at BetMGM, $1.85 over at Caesars as well. Jalen Brunson, plus 210 across the board, 2-1. The other two prices that you see out there over at Caesars as well. So you see the difference in the pricing. Not a big difference between the big ones. Where you get some of the big difference in prices are some of the other names, like Karl-Anthony Towns, 22-1 at FanDuel and BetMGM, where you want to go and bet him if that's going to be the case. And I think he's the third most likely candidate to win this series. Again, I think Knicks, if they're going to win this series, are going to have a big series from Karl-Anthony Towns. So he would be third in my pecking order of most likely candidates. Odds reflect that as well. 22-1, your best price there. But look at that difference, 12-1 over at Caesars. So just kind of look around and shop for these ones. Same thing with Stephon Castle. If you like him, FanDuel's your spot. It's at 65-1 as opposed to a 30-1 that's out there. OG Anunoby, I think, comes in fourth for me, at least in terms of pre-rankings. I think it's pretty easy. He's going to have a lot on his plate defensively. He is going to be the primary defender to start this series against Victor Wembanyama, I believe. And I don't know if I trust. I think the role makes sense that he could potentially win this. I just don't know if I trust the voters to do it. Now, the comp I gave to Mitch yesterday on Pod of the Futures was Andre Iguodala. When he won the finals, or MVP, for those who don't remember, despite the fact that LeBron had like a 35-point triple-double in the series and they ended up losing, Iguodala won it because of the defensive possessions against LeBron were good. So he ultimately wins it. And he was also part of a lineup adjustment that really helped them. But do you trust that the voters are going to do that again with like an OG Anunoby? I don't know if that's going to be the case. So, Anunoby's up there. And then De'Aaron Fox, as I've mentioned 1,000 times over in this show, I'm really intrigued by Fox's role. And I think if he's healthier and more productive than we give him credit for, he's got a pretty good shot at getting up there. So 100-1 across the board for Fox, a pretty consistent price for him.
To follow up on your Anunoby thing, though, when we presented this on Monday and call me crazy, Anunoby at DraftKings was 60-1. He's 40-1 now. So clearly there has been at least a little bit of support on him early on. And it's not the same thing, but Kawhi Leonard, too, is a finals MVP. He's a defense-first player. So maybe that element, again, just should he have success on Victor Wembanyama in situations throughout the course of the series could benefit him.
Yes. And by the way, to your point, at least the Raptors version of Kawhi was their primary engine on offense as well, which really helped him. But also, when they played, the Spurs did against the Miami Heat, Kawhi Leonard was obviously very good defensively. There's the clip, of course, of Kawhi checking in one of the finals games, LeBron looking over and rolling his eyes because he's like, this guy's coming back in again. So happens all the time.
Okay, let's go to my Conn Smythe ladder because it is a little bit bit different than the odds board for a number of reasons, but mine, we do have a larger sample size going back from the start of the NHL postseason. This is a postseason's entirety award versus just the NBA Finals. I have Mitch Marner at the top, and he is the favorite, but even that, like, you can get anywhere from plus 155 to plus 210 on Marner. At those prices in general, I'm staying away from it just because there is a chance for somebody else to sneak in here. I love the narrative for Marner. I love the production that we've seen. He is the NHL's leader in points right now. He's had the goal production as well, which I think is important. But a guy like Jack Eichel, who I do have, what is he, 6th on the board for me personally, he is somebody that at 17-1 could certainly creep back into the conversation should he get some of the goal scoring prowess. In my leaderboard, I have the Vegas players on top, because as you know, my prediction for the series is that Vegas ultimately is going to win this. This is not a situation where Carolina wins and Mitch Marner or someone on the Vegas Golden Knights is going to win. That happens so freaking rarely. When it happened with Connor McDavid, he had a historic, like, Wayne Gretzky breaking records type of a year. That's not something that you're going to see. So the team that wins is going to have the player that wins Conn Smythe. So Marner is the leader in the clubhouse for me for Vegas. Carter Hart he has such incredible numbers for this postseason, and in terms of on-ice production, which is how I have ranked this, very deserving. What I will say, though, Greg Wyshynski of ESPN put out a Conn Smythe poll earlier this morning. This is an award that's voted on by an 18-person panel of Professional Hockey Writers Association members. In his poll that he took, it was of 12 different writers. A handful of them do have actual votes in this. They polled it. Marner 1, Frederik Andersen 2, Taylor Hall 3, Carter Hart 4, Stan Coven 5. And in the description of Carter Hart, quote, Hart appeared on fewer ballots than Logan Stankoven, but received one first-place vote that helped put him slightly ahead in the rankings, which we saw Greg reference the off-ice stuff that has gone on with Carter Hart, also Tort's comments on his maturation. But Wyshynski wrote, quote, the Conn Smythe Trophy tells a story about performance and the performer. How this history impacts his standing with voters and the story the award tells is undoubtedly something to consider if the Knights win the Cup. This just further cements what I have been saying all along about Carter Hart.
Well,
I just don't see, if Vegas wins it, I don't see how he's winning it unless he is absolutely otherworldly and they have a massitive change of heart.
And let's be honest about this too. I mean, again, this is the non-hockey stuff, but this factors into these bets and these awards. The Knights are doing themselves no favors. I don't know if I was reading a story in the Athletic today.
They shut down any questions about it yesterday.
It was a 15-minute media session yesterday. He did 6 minutes, was asked about this, answered, and then was pulled by the Knights. Like, the Knights aren't doing themselves any favors by the way they're coddling him and shielding him, which, again, I mean, whatever. It's a whole other topic of, if you actually believe what you're selling, then why not just put him out there? But the whole point here is they are jilting the very writers who are going to decide what this is. And so that is going to have an impact on whether or not he's going to win this thing.
So in my Conn Smythe ladder, I have Carter Hart second in terms of production. I would not have him on this list at all in terms of realistically who I think can win it.
Sure.
So just for context there. Frederik Andersen, next on the list, he's the top shot for Carolina, and I think rightfully so, especially just given the historic placement where he's been, and should they be able to beat a team like Vegas that is going to put a lot more shots on net than we saw from Montreal, if they win, I think he's going to be a big part of that. That said, Taylor Hall and Logan Stankoven next on the ladder for me. Taylor Hall with the point production, Stankoven, though, with the goals. And if he continues to add and be able to do what he's been doing on that second line, I think he would get a little bit of the edge if he keeps scoring. That said, that line is so tough because it's Hall, Stankoven, and Blake. They all kind of cancel each other out a little bit because if one of them's getting points, they're all getting points, which is, again, why I lean toward Frederik Andersen. If he really does continue to stand tall in this, he's going to win it for Carolina.
I mean, I would agree, but I know that you don't think that he's going to be able to keep it up.
Well, you notice how I continue to give the caveats. If he continues to do what he's doing, I think that's an important layer of it. I genuinely don't know. He's going to see a lot more work this series.
Sure. No, look, as we have said 1,000 times, he's still, even a run like this is inherently a small sample size. So he could actually just come out here and continue to do what he's doing. What I'm going to be more curious about is how the voters decide, again, if it's a 7-game series, if Anderson's great in the 4 and awful in the 3, how that pans out. You see what I'm saying? Like, so in the 4 victories for Carolina, should they win this series, let's say he gives up an average of just about 2 goals per game, maybe a little bit less. But then in the other 3 that they lose, he's given up over 3.5. You do wonder what that looks like in terms of voting and how they would give that to him.
And I said this to you yesterday, though. As we talk about Mitch Marner and Carter Hart, narrative does play into this thing a little bit, and you can get a little bit of narrative for Frederik Andersen in terms of this being the worst regular season of his career. It's a postseason award, not just a Stanley Cup Final award, like I said at the top. So the complete body of work that he's done to this point, 12-1 so far, playoff best, .931 save percentage, 141 goals against, 3 shutouts as well. You've got the emotional element too. He was someone who was very close to Claude Lemieux, who recently passed away via suicide. There was a question about whether or not he would even start that last game against Montreal. Ended up having an amazing performance. So there are some other layers to that. And I would say Jack Eichel as well. He was very deserving of winning Conn Smythe back in 2023, but Jonathan Marchessault was like a goal-scoring bandit, and you had to give it to him. So I think Eichel has a little bit of narrative working in his favor as well. We got to step aside. When we come back, we will firm up our best bets for the day, a handful of series props in both the NHL and BA as we wrap up this Tuesday edition of the show.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Fast show today, which I think is natural in this type of time of year for the two of us, right? Where we have the Stanley Cup Final and the NBA Finals going on. I think we're a really good pair for this time of year, considering our affinity for both sports and the welcome nature with which we have taken in each other's sports as well. It's pretty nice, no?
I've taken in the other sport.
Okay, sorry, I'm not a card-carrying NBA media member like you are for the NHL because you went to one game.
You can watch the games. That's the start.
I do. I have been. I invited you to come hang out and watch games, and you don't even want to do it.
I was busy.
You took a nap.
You don't have to tell people that.
Neither here. No,
depressed in
I
the state
will
of my
say
life.
that. Okay, stop. No, for somebody though who brags constantly about taking 25-minute naps, I didn't get a response for like 4 hours.
Yeah, it was well, actually, I texted you. I said, "What time are you guys hanging out?" And then I never texted back until like 5 o'clock. Whatever, it happens. But yes,
I've taken an interest. Just acknowledge me.
Really quickly, which actually ties in nicely. I don't know when it happened, but we were just past a year, of course, in terms of our pairing as a show. And we covered tip to tail the Stanley Cup Final last year.
Yes.
And we had a show bet. It was our first show bet. I won said show bet.
Yes.
Because I had the Florida Panthers to win that series against the Edmonton Oilers. So, who's going to win the series?
Vegas.
Carolina.
Okay, so we got another one.
So we have another show bet.
Here's the thing, is I had it all planned out because we selected what my penalty was going to be for losing.
Our bosses aren't gonna like that
I was ready
one.
to do it, and then you said no.
I don't think our bosses would have liked it.
So now is this just going to be if I win, it's a wash, and if I lose, then I have to like double down?
No, we'll figure something out.
Okay.
Yes. I still owe Mitch dinner as well. So
we are
gotta
open
figure
to
that out.
suggestions, though, for what our show bet should be. So tweet at us, at MeJVT, at Storm Buonantony. We, of course, have the email as well, moneymoves@vsin.com. So chime in because I am someone who pays my debts. I pay off the bets. So I lost. But this year I feel good about it. Although, no, I don't. I don't feel good about it at all.
League confidence immediately.
To be totally transparent with you, I think this series is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be back and forth, and I have genuinely no idea who wins it. I lean Vegas. I like Vegas for the reasons I've laid out earlier in the show, but Carolina is as complete as they come, and they have been awesome, and it feels like they've been building toward this for years.
You're at least finally being consistent. Last year, you had been anti-Edmonton up until the Stanley Cup Final, and then you flipped.
Yeah.
So at least to this point, you've questioned Carolina pretty much the whole run, and you're going to continue to do it here, which I applaud.
Thank you.
And I've been very pro Carolina, I think, throughout this run. So, like, I'm in. As we talked about, too, I mean, we at least got that right.
It's so annoying, though.
Didn't bet it, but we got it right, which was, what did we say, even going into Game 7 between, what was it, Montreal and Buffalo? Carolina better wipe the floor with either one of these teams. Like, they both kind of stink. And sure enough, they did it with Montreal. So this Hurricanes team is pretty good. It ties into best bets, which we'll have coming up here shortly. But, all right, show bet. I've got Carolina. Okay. You've got Vegas.
Yeah, it's just this matchup is so annoying to me because I've been rooting for Carolina and betting Carolina for years. And then the year that they finally do it is the year that I don't have plays on them and they're playing my favorite team. So it's very frustrating as a viewer. But I think the series is going to be great. I hope, like Darren Pang said, that it goes 7, that we get the distance in this thing. But like you said, we do have some best bets. Before we look forward, we got to recap. And I know you already shared some of your anger at how last night played out on the diamond for you when we had Adam Burke on the show earlier. But I didn't have a bet yesterday, so hit it.
Yeah, that was annoying. So Chicago White Sox end up losing yesterday. Moneyline play at plus 135 does not get there. Why this is annoying is a big part of the handicap was that I did not believe that Joe Ryan was going to be able to continue to do what he had been doing, which is really, really just holding down the home runs despite being a fly ball pitcher that was giving up a ton of hard contact. And I was dead on, Stormy. Over 6 innings, he gave up 2 homers and 4 earned runs, and I lost the bet. So, did not work out. Well, that's what happens when Sandlin goes out there and coughs up 8 earned runs and a homer himself over the course of his 4 innings of work. So, it is a loss, and we persevere and move on.
All right. Well, since you're starting things off, let's get into your best bets. You got a nice blend of NBA and NHL stuff.
All right. We'll start here at the top. Karl Anthony Towns to win Finals MVP, 22-1. As we've discussed ad nauseum here, there's many candidates that we can make arguments for, formulate plans for, but the end of the day, I think Towns is set up to have a pretty strong series, and I think at 22-1 to win Finals MVP, he is up there to potentially get it done. So I'm going to add him to the portfolio for the NBA Finals. So Cat, Finals MVP, 22-1. De'Aaron Fox, this is a fun market. You know, the series leaders in assists, points, rebounds, things like that. De'Aaron Fox, series leader, assists at plus 650 is where you can find that number widely available. So Stephon Castle is ahead of him, the favorite here, but I think Castle, with the rate of turnovers that he has, is really probably going to find himself in the backseat, at least in terms of being a primary ball handler and running the offense. Fox being a little bit more consistent when it comes to running the offense, playing the true point guard spot. I think at plus 650 and being a little bit healthier, I think that's going to work better for him. And I think there's a little bit of value by my measure in Fox at plus 650 to lead the series in assists. We have a game 1 bet as well. Josh Hart over 1.5 3-pointers at minus 155, the best price out there at BetMGM. This has been a widely talked about play here on the network. I know Zach has talked about it. Kelly's talked about it. I think that this is a pretty solid look. Again, this is just playing the strategy here, which is Victor Wembanyama is going to start on Josh Hart. They're going to play off of him. They're going to allow him to shoot, one would assume. So the opportunity should be there. Will he get there? Well, that's another question. But at the very least, I think the opportunity is going to be there for Hart to go over that number. So again, game 1, Josh Hart over 1.5 3-pointers at minus 155. To the hockey. 3 plays in hockey, one of which is on the draft. Hurricanes, minus 1.5 games in the series against Vegas, plus 130. I'll reiterate one more time, one of the things that sticks out of the many, at even strength, the expected goal differential for Vegas is minuscule, just very, very tiny compared to what the Hurricanes have done. They have been giving up a ton of high danger opportunities and specifically just high value shots. And I think they're going to pay for that against Carolina. We'll go with Logan Stankoven. This is totally my idea.
Okay.
Series leader, shots on goal at 16-1. I'll let Stormy explain. That's on me. Or excuse me, I'm following her. And then last but not least, this is just purely based on everything I've been reading. And it keeps coming up. So let's just play it. I don't even know when this event is. When is it? When is the draft?
Let me find out the date for you.
Gavin McKenna versus the field for the number 1 overall pick in the NHL draft. Give me the field at plus 360.
June 26th is the first round.
We will be waiting. I cannot wait. I just read a mock draft right before we came on the air that had McKenna going 3rd, and I was like, you know what? This is like the 10th article I've read with him not going 1st. I'm just going to bet this, and sure enough. That, by the way, was over at BetMGM as well.
Yeah, it's not the lock that I think it was maybe hyped up to be at one
point.
point.
He's minus 550 to go over there.
Let's, for me, all of my stuff is on the ice right now. I mentioned it earlier, but I am going Carter Hart over 27.5 saves for tonight. And He only faced 21 shots on goal in the closeout game against Colorado, but last 6 games, 32 saves, 30, 36, 31, 34. Carolina, a team that is known for shot volume, and he has been playing unbelievable down the stretch. In the 12 games since that slow start against Utah, he's got a .935 save percentage, 191 goals against. He's 6-0 with a .948 save percentage and 165 goals against average the last 6. Like, he's going to get the volume, and I think he's capable of getting the stops. You mentioned the high danger opportunities that Vegas has allowed, but he has been better than anyone else in the postseason at stopping those slot or inner slot chances. So give me him to not only play well, but even if he struggles early, stay in, because as I mentioned earlier on the show, John Tortorella has said he understands Carter Hart is a guy who likes to play through things and will give him the chance to do it throughout the course of a long game. I'm also on the under 5.5 in this series, not only for Hart's play, but just the defensive structure I think we're going to get on both sides of this thing. I also think, even though it's a game 1 and weird stuff can happen, it's going to have a game 7 feel. So the fact that you're getting even money on an under 5.5 here, I think it's worthwhile. Stan Coven, who you mentioned, yes, I just do not understand the price on it. Simple as that. 16-1 on him to have the most shots on goal for the series. He leads all players entering the final in shots on goal with 46 in 13 games, compared to like the Vegas leaders, for example, in shots on goal, Eichel and Dorofeev. They have 42 in 16 games, right? He also tied for second in goals with 9. That second line for Carolina has been the best line in the entirety of the postseason. So I think there's nothing that tells me that they're going to slow down or he's going to slow down. I know his time on ice numbers are a little bit lower than some other players, but he has made the most of them. I was also looking at Jack Eichel -1.5 points over Seth Jarvis. The second line for Carolina has been tremendous. The first line's done a whole lot of nothing. And now it's not like you've been facing defensive juggernauts throughout the course of the postseason. Now you're facing a team in Vegas that actually is pretty effective there. I think Eichel's still going to get his as at least a facilitator, if not a goal scorer. So taking the -1.5 there, he's like -300 to have more points than him. So let's take it on the spread and see if he can get it done there. I didn't end up pulling the trigger on Marner -1.5 points against Sebastian Aho, but at +110, I think that's a worthwhile look as well. And then I'm still TBD what I want to do to hedge my Vegas futures. Do I just lay the -155? Do I do the Carolina to win game 1 and the series? You can get it +130. I have to figure out a way to do it, but I will do one of those things tonight.
All right, I like it.
I'm so excited, guys. Cup final tonight, NBA finals getting underway tomorrow. This is an awesome week.
I offered to go watch it somewhere, but you said no.
That is true. I did say that today. Well, the place you're going, I'm already going later on this week. I can't double down. Speaking of doubling
Special
down,
reason for going.
You have all the info you need continuing on. Follow the money coming up next.